Brent, we were here. We made it another day. I
We
think.
did. That's always a good thing when you can just wake up and go, today's a beautiful day, and I get to go on a live stream with my friend Mike Simmons.
Wow, look at that! I get to go on a live stream with my friend Brent Schlenker. See, what could be better?
Not much, it's just a beautiful day. And I
You know what
think
could be better? ASU beating U of A this week.
it's not going to happen.
That could be better. That could be better.
It could be better.
That could be better. It's one of those. It's one of those weeks. It gets there in Arizona. For those of you who don't know this, this is called Hate Week, um, and uh, it is the ASU U of A rivalry is one that has a lot of emotion connected to it.
Yeah.
In our house, we do not have a house divided. We're all Sun Devils, with the exception of the Rainbow Warrior that will be back from Hawaii here in just a little bit. But it is hard. He's still a Sun Devil.
Yeah. Well, I not only am I a house divided, but I'm like a human divided. So that just makes it even worse.
Yeah.
Having been to both, but I think besides it being Hate Week, I think just the fact that I think one of our goals for being here is to help people just not freak out.
Okay.
At least I think so, right? Like I want to help people realize that AI is not as scary as it needs to be. You don't have to be freaked out by it. People may be making bad decisions around it regarding, their business and hiring and firing and whatever. People may be going faster than you. People may know more than you, but hey, it's changing every day. So, keeping up is hard, but it's part of the gig, right? Keeping up with tech, and there's ways you can do that, and ways you can make it more simplistic. And something we've been saying since live stream number 1, we've been here before. So
what is it that gets people freaked out? Because I'm not one of those people that gets freaked out about this kind of stuff. So, like,
I think it's you don't feel the pressure of your job being on the line. I think at the end of the day, I think that's it. I think the people that are mostly freaked out are those who feel like if I don't learn this AI thing, my job's at stake.
But so for me, my job's always at stake. Like if I don't bring on new clients, we run out of cash, right?
I know, right? Well, it's a different mindset, and I think that's it's a mindset thing, and maybe we can help with that too, right? I mean, maybe that's if people stopped and took inventory of their skills, since that's a really popular thing to talk about these days, their skills, the value that those skills that they bring to the company that they're currently working for. And then they can, and maybe that's why they're freaked out. Maybe they know, maybe they're being honest with themselves. And it's like, I'm not currently bringing a lot of value compared to my peers. I don't know this tech the way they do, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to learn it. And now what? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's hey, people got to shoot straight with themselves a little bit more, and maybe they are, and maybe that's why they're freaking out. I don't know.
That might be a kind of an interesting back and forth, depending on how what we see when we take a look at the news, and as people start to come in. I think one of the other things that Brent and I talked about yesterday after the show is that we kind of, or we cut things short. Right there at the half hour, because I have this stickler for, hey, we're going to hit this half hour mark and whatnot, and we've agreed that we're going to we're going to play a little bit more loose, like both of us typically do, and be less rigid. So embrace our own personalities in the way that we approach this thing. Kind of let the show go on, as long as it makes sense to go on. We've got our number one fan in the room, Brent.
And he's back. Good morning, Dr. Seibert.
Doctor, so I think it'd be interesting to go into this conversation around like what's really changed and how you determine value in a role, and how you calculate that as you have conversations with people inside your business, and kind of do some back and forth on that at some point in time.
Yeah.
I'm taking a look at Brent at Craig's note.
Yeah, I was just reading that too, and I think so. There are bigger and smaller historical industry-wide impacts. I think that, and maybe this is going back too far. I don't know, but there are the smaller changes maybe weren't as big as AI, and obviously, yes, AI is a big deal. Mike, just interrupt me if I go back too far, and if I start just rambling on. I don't want to fill like 20 minutes with this particular monologue, but I think when personal computers first hit the workplace at scale, that was as I believe that was as big as what we're going through right now. And I know a lot of people don't think so, because it's AI is like magic and it's changing the world, and it has, so many other implications and blah, 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 blah. But so did the personal computer. I mean, I think, one of the things that I'm working on is an historical perspective, just like this, talking about it here, so people can get so people can get kind of a reality check that when we say this has happened before, we've been here before, we're not talking about 10 years ago, when mobile, or 15, was it 2007 when the iPhone came out? So 20-ish years ago, mobile learning, that was a big trend. That was a big deal. Trying to move all of our L&D stuff over to, and convince people that mobile devices were a good way to learn. Heck, some people are just figuring it out this year. Other people are just figuring it out, that this e-learning thing could be legit, and we should probably buy an LMS. So there's a lot that's going on, but I think big things have happened, and then nobody can imagine what's coming next. And when the personal computers came out, everybody thought they were losing their jobs. I've talked to a few people over the last few months that lived through that and started their career during the transition from, hey, there are no computers in the office, to everybody's got personal computers, or everybody's going to be getting personal computers. And it's the same conversation that it is. They feel like they're reliving that time with the AI panic. So
Do you remember this acronym? BYOD.
Yep. Bring your own device.
Bring your own device.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we don't need to buy our people technology anymore, because everybody has their own. So let's just let people bring their own tools to the office.
And then there was the security risk and concern about what was going to be on the network and how things were going to be on the network. And then
so IT departments had to come up with all completely new processes and new technologies to figure out, and policies. So the governance is a big deal that I think people skip all the time. and figuring out, okay, how do we load this software on everybody's personal device? What type of invasion of privacy does that mean? How do you convince people that the company isn't looking at all your personal information and data on your device? uh, you know I just went through an implementation of a BYOD with a company this past year. So yeah,
Well, then, and then you'll hear things like shadow IT,
yeah,
right? And yeah, so these are things that are out there. I think um, the thing that's helped me kind of work through any innovation is, number one, is be really excited about it. Like, hey, this is cool. What can we do with this thing?
yeah,
What can we test? What can we try? What can we do different? How can this help me stay focused on the things that I'm really good at and do less of the things I don't want to do? Where people get hung up, and where I've kind of got hung up before in the past, and I've seen others get hung up in the past, is, ooh, but I really like doing that thing. I don't want that thing taken away from me. And it
yeah,
doesn't mean that that thing has to get taken away from you. You may choose to do it in a different way, or you
yeah,
may choose to use the tool to kind of enable you to achieve the thing that you're trying to achieve. I think the piece, and I talk about this a lot, but it's, let's ask the questions, not necessarily about what am I going to lose, but what am I potentially going to gain throughout
right,
the process? What am I going to learn? What do I have access to faster? Um, w- it's kind of nice. And yesterday, for those of you who weren't listening yesterday, we were talking about RFPs. It's kind of nice to not have to read through 14 different documents to get to the piece of information, to have something else go through and
yeah,
highlight your potential risk based on a risk lens that you're willing to look, or that you're interested in looking at the world through. Yeah, it's it's this whole like, hey, back in the day, I really liked the fact that I um could use one of those push lawnmowers that work through things, and I didn't have to hear the hum of the engine when I'm mowing the lawn. And actually, back in the day, I had grass. Today, I've just got artificial turf. But like, what? Like that's there's a benefit to artificial turf. There's also some things that you lose with artificial turf. Like, it gets really, really hot during the summer.
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's pros and cons to all this stuff, and uh, it, it's it's a change. I'm trying to avoid the banging on the old times and whatnot. But I do not have any sort of romance with having to do images by hand in Photoshop and having to learn that tool the way we had to back in the day. It was the only game in town. It was the only tool that you could use to manipulate images and to be artistic and to come up with imagery that you could use in e-learning and whatnot. So we all learned, at least the basics of Photoshop to be able to create some good imagery. Or you'd go to your favorite download site and buy a license to that. You don't even really need that anymore. I mean, maybe you do, but then but then you get into, well, the AI can create really cool images. You see all the cool images that people are creating online, and you're like, ooh, I want to do that. And then you go and you type in what you want, and what it spits back is like not as cool as what all the people are showing online. So you're like, wonder what I did wrong. So then you start looking for some custom prompts, to put in just to test it. But it's all about playing. I think that was one of the things that you triggered in my head with one of your comments, is if you're not comfortable playing with the platforms and playing with the tools and just letting go, trying not to immediately force them into your workflow, just sit with one of them. And if you're staring at the blank, the blank hello Brent, and then enter some text here field, and you don't know what to put in there, You know what's really awesome about AI is that you can just type in the AI, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here. Can you help me? And it will come back and it will help you. It will tell you.
Do you remember what your first prompt was? What's the first prompt you put into one of these tools?
Oh, that would be a cool thing to know, huh?
All right, while you're thinking, I know mine.
What'd you do?
How do I train my dog to sit?
Oh,
And it just it was super simple one. Like that was it. Like there's nothing behind it. I mean, dog already sits. Like I just wanted to see
yeah,
what's it going to do. Are we going to see kind of this like successive approximation type thing? Is there going to be this? What are we going to see in this environment? Um, I'm not a dog training expert. Like that's not my area of expertise. So I went with something that was going to be a little bit less emotionally triggered
yeah,
by like if I gone in there and be like, so what is the most amazing sales process ever used in the history of mankind? Like like that would have been one of those things where they're like, well, AI, you're wrong, like that kind
yeah.
of thing. But hey, how do I train my dog to sit?
I
And
don't think this was the first one, but the first one that really made me go, "Oh shit,
yeah,
this is really cool," was I did have a training need, and I needed to build a, a training course, and I thought, well, okay, here we go. I'm gonna get in there. I'm gonna do the AI thing,
yep,
right? And I type in, pretend you are a PhD instructional designer. You are the foremost expert in neuroscience
yep,
and the adult learning theory. And I listed a bunch of other things. And I said, create a day long workshop on whatever topic it was. I think it was cybersecurity or something at the time. And this is the audience. This is the type of company it's being delivered to. These are the types of employees that exist within that company. Enter. Wait all of 20 seconds and you watch it spit out this thing. And as it's printing it out on the page, I'm looking at it going, oh, 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 that's good. Oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, that's cool. Oh, wow, that's awesome. And then it stops and then it kicks off again. And the again part is here's all of the science behind all of the decisions I just made and all of the references if you'd like them. I was like, oh shit, this is huge.
yep.
And I went back and I reviewed the whole darn thing and everything that it wrote in there and all the sources, clicked on all of them. Yep, been there. Yep, know her. Yep, know him. Yep, read his book. Yep. All of that. I was just like, wow. And then at the very end of it, it was like it offered up suggestions. Would you like me to create an assessment for you with multiple choice questions or something a little bit more advanced? And all I said was yes. And it did. What I really wanted to do was send the multiple choice questions to Patty Shank, who is the multiple choice assessment question writing expert, and see what she had to say about it. But haven't done that yet. Anyways, that's my rant. That's my story. So maybe
How
that's why people are freaked out. I thought it was super cool. I wasn't freaked out at all. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think another question to kind of go through is how many times are you freaked out by a blank page?
Yeah, right?
Like how often does that get in the way of getting started? Like
That's a
just
great different angle. Yeah, for sure.
just looking at a blank page and not
It
knowing
kills
where to
me.
begin. Yeah,
Yep.
it drives some people absolutely nuts. Like
Yep.
I love a blank whiteboard. Like, a blank whiteboard means I've wiped the slate clean. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start putting up some new things and we're going to build. And you know what? If I make a mistake, I can erase it. Like I can do
Yeah.
those kind of things. There are a lot of people. Heck, you might be one who struggles with the blank page of like, where do I start? What do I
Yeah.
do next? And this is where these tools can be super, super powerful, especially if you're operating in an enclosed environment like what Craig was talking about yesterday, where you're pointing the tool to a specific set of resources and say, hey, this is what I've done before in these kind of scenarios. Given what you know about this, how would you start? And so I'm one of those people who's not really big on the whole. And I know everybody has a different perspective on this, and this just happens to be mine. But
Yeah. That's fine.
I'm not one of those people who's really big on the whole giant prompt engineering. Like you are a so and so who does this and does that and all of that other kind of stuff. Like that's not that's not me. I'm kind of the meathead question of, hey, I'm trying to do this. What would you do? Or
Yeah.
I, what is? I was looking at something the other day, just something simple like, what's a way to oxidize beryllium copper faster? Yeah, it's like just something like that. Like these guys, I've got I put these are some old Ping I2 wedges. These things were this one was made in 1987. So and I put it in a vinegar bath just to kind of to clean it up. And I was like, all right, well, if I want to do like uniform oxidation, I could just let it sit, or I can
Yeah.
have some kind of a chemical reaction to it. So, like, there we go.
Why
It's
do you
almost
want to oxidize it?
just because you get that brown tarnish. I mean, this time of year, it's not as big of a deal, but like in the summer when the sun is just beating on everything, these things get kind of shiny. They kind of stick. They will they're shiny in the bag. So the oxidation will make it look a little bit more like this. So
Okay.
this is another one, right? So this is same club, actually the same serial numbers. One just went in the vinegar bath, the other one didn't. So how can you accelerate this oxidation? And the real way to do it is just let it happen naturally, because after a couple of weeks of playing, it'll start to do this. This one's only been sitting in my office and it still
So
has
originally
oxidation like
started
this.
off as a silvery color like a chrome, and then now you've bronzed.
No, it's so these are beryllium copper. So beryllium
Oh,
copper is the combination of copper and beryllium, and so an alloy that Karsten Solheim
and you don't want them to be
used.
shiny? I'm not sure I'm following the purpose.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. I don't. I prefer to not look at shiny things when I'm. I mean, do you like to look at shiny things?
Yeah. All the
Okay. So do you notice like one of us likes shiny things? I kind of stay focused on not. I'm dull. You're shiny. So there we go. That's that's I think ultimately where we got to with that one.
Well, there you have
We're off the rails. We're-
it. Sorry, Craig. I've been
As a
meaning to get to
painter, I have no
your
issue with
painter.
that. Now starting a project, totally different story. Yeah. See, so cool. So Craig, I'm going to throw your quote up here just to stick it in here because I think a lot of people have this same thing. When you're
Yeah.
in one environment, you have no problem with the blank slate. When you're in another environment, you're like, oh my God, what do we do? Like, how many how many
Yeah.
times has anybody gotten in an argument, or not even an argument? It's more of like a discussion with their spouse around where they should go to eat. Blank slate of places that you could go eat. You can go eat anywhere, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it turns into a battle. Then you go into but in another environment, you like the space of just starting with a blank piece of paper and just being able to create. And as a painter, love to create. But Craig, as you put on here, as someone who's getting ready to start with a new project,
Yeah.
What
Totally.
happens? And then, and really, what's the difference? Like, what's the difference between the two?
Good point. I often wonder why a particular spreadsheet that I created never really took off. And not that I wanted people to use my spreadsheet, but I was just, maybe everybody created their own. I don't know. But um, I think maybe it's this, there is this in the instructional design world anyways, there seems to be this romanticization of going through the instructional design process with a clean slate and not relying on templates or anything like that. Apparently there's something impure about doing that. But what I discovered over my time working in L&D is,
Whoops, Brent, I just lost your microphone. It was right as you hit the microphone. You said, "What I discovered in this time in L&D," and then all of a sudden, silence. It's like suspense. You're still you're still losing your audio. I'll let you know when you come back
it
on.
muted me. Am I back?
You were back, but you're on a different microphone.
I broke something.
You should be. You're good. You're good to go. Just keep as we keep things going. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as long as you can hear me. Yeah. So, anyways. Yeah. Okay. Where was I going with this? Now I'm trying to fix this.
You were talking about the romanticism of the idea.
Yes. Yeah.
Start. Yeah.
Right. What I was going to say was, you know, at the end of the day, sometimes you have no choice. Somebody will tell you, either a client or your boss or whatever, hey, can you make a workshop, a day-long workshop, right? It's a pretty common framework of delivering a course. And seems like there's a chunk of the industry that's like, whoa, let me go through my whole entire ADDIE model instructional design process to make sure that a day-long workshop is actually the most, it is the correct solution for this thing. And, the business is like, no, just do a workshop. We've put aside a day for our people to do training and to learn this. Just do a workshop. Just do the workshop. I don't know, how many times I've heard stories of people going through that or have been through it myself, and people still, I see stories of people going, hey, when someone tells me what to do, what the solution should be before I've gone through my thing, I'm out. I'm just out. I'm out. Okay, send them my way. I'll build a workshop for them, right? Like, all they want me to do is pretty up a PowerPoint. I'm not going to do that. I'm like, okay, send them my way. I'll pretty up a PowerPoint for them, But anyway, so I one thing I created was the way I get past the whiteboard thing, and I'm certain I learned this from you early when I first met you, was, but it's also something that I just do naturally, is I like to oversimplify everything. So there's half of me that likes to overcomplicate things, and then there's the other half of me that once I freak out at the overcomplication, I oversimplify things. And it's sometimes I end up meeting in the middle, and other times I end up just going insane. But most of the time I meet in the middle. And in this instance, this was an easy one. It was like, okay, when you're doing a day-long workshop, what is the one thing that you can guarantee that needs to happen in 8 hours, or maybe you're doing 7.5 hours or whatever, right? You're not going 8 hours straight, beginning to end. You got a mandatory lunch break, right? So you've got your time block. You've got every hour written down on a thing. There is an hour smack dab in the middle that's lunch. Start there. It's got nothing to do with instruction, but you got to feed everybody. You got to give them lunch. You fill that one spot with lunch. Okay, now we've 30 minutes, an hour is gone out of the equation. Well, you can't go 4 hours straight either. So you're probably going to need some breaks. And so you're going to stick in a 15-minute break for everybody to, go pee at, 10 o'clock, 9:30, depending upon when you start. You put one in the morning, you put one in the afternoon. Now you've got these nice divisions broken up. And then now you start thinking, well, most people, aren't going to want to sit and get bored in a lecture for a while. So you're like, instead of having these hour blocks on the spreadsheet, let's break it down to 30 minutes. And then maybe once you start plugging the content in. So then now you can see this whole framework start to come together of what you have to work with. Like, here is the blank slate filled up with all of the mandatory logistics of doing a day-long workshop. Now, what's your content? What are you trying to teach? And what's going to be the best way to present it? Where are you going to plug in activities? Where are you going to put in, all the different things? And you're going to have to flex. You may not, the world's greatest thing that you've come up with as an instructional designer may not fit into one of those buckets. And so maybe you do decide, okay, I'm going to push out the break, or I'm going to give it more time, or I'm going to give it less time, or I'm just going to eliminate it. I'm not going to do that this time around. We're going to do something else, but doing perfection is not a good thing. So I don't know why, and maybe everybody has their own template for something like that, but at the very least, it never went away. To go back to the original thing of historically, I was absolutely one of those people in the early days of creating computer-based training where I was like, this stuff is so cool. Why will we even need teachers anymore? We totally don't need instructors or facilitators. This self-paced stuff and computers is so amazing. It's not necessary. And hello, we're still building them. We're still delivering them, and they are still useful and still needed. And probably as long as there are humans, we will still be teaching that way. End of rant.
So, Craig, you might have missed it at the beginning. We had said that we're now going to allow this thing to go as long as it makes sense. We're going to let the show go on until it makes sense to stop it. So we're not going to keep. I'm no longer going to keep things hard to the hard and fast rule of the 30 minutes. As an outsider in the industry, but someone who's operated inside it from a solution provider perspective. When you lay out what you laid out, Brent, to me, it's you're putting a couple of you have a goal, you have a couple of objectives, you have some milestones that you're going to hit, or waypoints that you're going to hit, and as you hit on the waypoints that you're moving toward, or you lay out the stepping stones that you want to make it through, then you say, okay, well, what are some of the small incremental steps that I can take to help me get through there so that I can ensure at the end of the day that, it's kind of funny. We have at the end of the day and back in the day. We have a lot of days. I can ensure that we accomplish the objective and reduce the risk that we don't by making things a bit smaller. And if you lay out your timeline, you basically have this, like, I start at 0, I want to hit 100. That's where I want to go. I know that lunch is going to be in the middle. I've got a couple of other maybe smaller breaks in between. And then I go through and say, okay, well, inside each of these things, how does A lead to B, lead to C, and then D lead to E, lead to F, to ultimately get me where I need to go at its base level. And here's the challenge. I've been around enough of these day-long meetings and these week-long events and all of that other stuff that a lot of people forget about all of this. They forget about what the objective is, and they're like, well, I just want to make sure that it's instructionally sound, or that it looks pretty, or that it does all of these other things. We get to use all of the cool pieces of technology. And then people get frustrated because then they wonder, why couldn't this have been a video? Or why couldn't it have been something else, something that was better for me? Or somebody comes in and goes, you know what? I'm a visual learner. I need to see all of this stuff. Oh, I'm an auditory learner. I need to just hear people talk about. I am experiential. I need to go out there and get my hands on these things because I'm different.
Well, it happens. And that's what lunch is for. Craig says lunch is overrated. It 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 may be, but I think lunch is used properly. Lunch can be an exceptionally good instructional strategy, and I'll leave it at that.
I think I shared the Ford story. But I've shared it before, so I won't get into it again. Iqbal, I see you're here. A really good question around some of the sales stuff. Not for this kind of conversation. You know, when we'll get into that kind of stuff around like what's working with LinkedIn and how does outreach work and some of those other things in those Friday calls that we do with Liz and Chris and Brent and a couple of other folks. There are a couple of different versions. This one's more focused on technology in learning, in what is happening in the learning space. From today, we're getting into some instructional design stuff. We've gotten into some other things, and really the catalyst for the conversation was, oh shit, now I'm scared and I've got all of this stuff and I feel like I'm behind. And what we're trying to do with this conversation is remind everybody it's okay. You've been through this before in one way, shape, or form, whether it's the adoption of the or the implementation of the personal computer into the environment, or remember that cool thing where we actually were able to get online from our house? Like we could actually go out to a network from within our house and have packets go back and forth. And when those packets started going back and forth that didn't come from the post office, we were able to happen digitally. Things started to shift and change. And you know what? We still made it. We're still here and we're working through. Craig, I did not start with learning styles, just to be clear. That was me poking fun at some stuff, but I'm happy that I've figured out how to trigger Dr. Seibert. It's so there's this. We've been here before. We can work through it. Brent, what's your process for taking on something new? Like something new gets dropped right into your lap. What's the first thing you do with it?
Yeah, I freak out and I call Mike.
Okay. So would it be helpful if I share my process? Okay. So after you freak out and call me, and sometimes I don't answer, then what do you do?
I ask a lot of questions, and well, okay. So to be perfectly honest, I typically go right into solution mode, and I have to catch myself and grab the hypothetical lasso and rope myself, hog tie my brain to slow it down a little bit and make sure that I stop, think it through, not overcomplicate it, and ask better questions.
I ran into some tech issues this morning, so I didn't get the video out quick enough. But this is you'll see a little bit more of this as you get ready for Thanksgiving. So it's in the States. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving. One of the models that Brent and I will work through when we're working through some of these things is like, what is it? What's the specific thing that we're trying to solve for? Like, what's the problem that we're trying to solve for? What's the thing that I need to overcome right now? And if it's personal, then we'll go right into why. So why does it continue to persist? Your root cause analysis. Why is it important to solve? What's the impact of solving? If it's not personal, we'll go the other way and we'll get into who, but let's just keep things personal because this is an individual thing. Everybody out there is figuring out, hey, what am I actually trying to do with this technology at an individual level so that I keep my job, so that I stay ahead of the curve, so that I reduce the level of stress that's going on in the gray matter between my ears. So what, problem, why, who? This is where we start to get additional perspective because too many times we get caught in our own head. But if I understand the who has the problem, who's impacted by the problem, and then who cares about the people who have or impacted by the problem, then now I can take their perspectives and apply it to the why side of things. I joke about this and say it's my Mary Poppins approach to problem solving. And if we didn't hit on those three questions, we didn't earn the right to jump into solution. and how. And I can tell you over and over and over again, the biggest mistakes happen because we jump right from what into how. And that's the extent of what I'm going to do with the hexagon today. But we'll go at some point in time. I'm sure we'll end up going a little bit deeper into that. But like what, why, who, how. Don't just jump right into this stuff and say, I'm going to go from this thing right into
Mhm.
how, because you've not earned the right to start solving for it. And if you solve for the wrong thing, you waste a lot of time. And if you solve in the wrong context, you could irritate some people. So some of these questions, what, who, why, how, and in when, kind of what's next, can be really helpful when you're sitting down at Thanksgiving dinner and you get bored. You just start asking people questions, and be careful about going too deep because you might end up getting yourself in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to constantly go back to it because every time I watch you go through it, the who has the problem, who's impacted by the problem, and who cares about those that have it and are impacted by it, always reframes the thinking in my head afterwards.
Awesome.
So I think that's a good place for us to wrap up today, to be honest.
All right, we didn't get into the news.
Oh, we didn't do the news. Do you want to do the news?
You know what? Anybody interested in the news? Brent, are you interested in the news?
Everybody's figured it out. Well, I did it. Instead of sharing it, I'll just read it to people. And if it catches you, the AI revolution in corporate L&D, another headline: skills, performance, and employability, and government and education policy. That one keeps showing up every single time. I don't think there's anything new. I think it's showing the same link that we talked about the last time. And key learning modalities and focus areas: micro learning, immersive learning, social and collaborative learning. All things we've talked about, all things we could easily pick up on any one of those items. But I think for the exercise of what we're doing and utilizing the same prompt and seeing what comes back every single day, I think it's okay for us to skip it today. But
one of the things, here's the just something to take away from this conversation. We talked about like basic questions here, and also shared a little bit of the kind of the not getting too deep into your own head when you're building something, and it's okay to start with a blank slate. So if this is the first time you're listening to this conversation, know that it's not the first time that we've gone over some of the things that we go over. What I mean there, and why it's important to remember that, is when you go in for your first time and you start using these tools, be comfortable asking others how they've used them to help you bridge that gap of change or that comfort level and actually taking a step. Small incremental steps moving in the right direction, adjusted based on feedback that you get from the work that you're doing, will help you build momentum and generate progress. Don't make it any bigger than it really is. So Brent, awesome conversation. Where can people find out more about what you're working on?
Good conversations today, for sure. Yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. You can always just reach out to me. Shoot me a DM if you want to chat. If you want to go deeper, I'm always open to calls.
Awesome. And you can find your catalyst at findmycatalyst.com. Take a look at the video. I'll go a little bit deeper on the hexagon and help you make Thanksgiving a bit more memorable this year, and actually give you a tool that when things start going in the wrong direction, you can kind of bring it back. So, anyway, Iqbal, Craig, good to see you.
Thanks for hanging out with us, guys.
We have confirmed that I am dull and Brent is shiny. So what better thing